This time on Heavy Pedal Garage, we're going to work on the upper and lower cowl area and the dash. We're moving forward and we're trying to get that all ready so that we can put some of that satin black finish, which will be the final coating on the cowl and the dash. But before we do that, we got to seam seal all of those edges. When I broke this car down and took everything apart, I made sure to grind all of that old seam sealer out. It was cracked and old and nasty, so we got to put that back in so that this thing is watertight. Alright, so I changed my mind. I went with some 220. 120 just seemed a little rough, so I'm just going to kind of get down in here. One thing I'm really trying not to do is scratch off the epoxy down to the metal. But if I do, it'll be covered in seam sealer. And before I shoot this in a single stage satin, I'm going to go ahead and put a sealer coat of epoxy on it anyways, because I do have some bare metal spots elsewhere, but I'd just rather them not be under the seam sealer. Okay, so through here you can kind of see I got some welds. This was a rusty patch that I had to put in. I just busted out the spot welds right here and put in some new metal, and then up here on both sides, for some reason this seems to be kind of a typical spot for rust. This here will definitely get seam sealed. I don't want any of the moisture going into those welds. I mean, the epoxy should seal it up pretty good, but we're here, we're doing the work, so it's under the fender. I'm just going to go ahead and cover that up with some seam sealer as well. Alright, so this just keeps progressing. I decided to switch over to my orbital sander electric, but I've got this interface pad on there which helps go over all the bumps since it's not really flat and smooth. But this is speeding it up a little bit. I'm just going to do the whole thing. We're going to knock this down. I'm going to go over it with epoxy, so might as well just get it straightened out, and this will be a lot quicker. Alright, so DA did pretty good. These are all the factory spot welds, and you know, there's just little places here and there that I'll dig in with my fingers and get that together. So I got it all scuffed up, used some red Scotch-Brite, dug in on the spots that I couldn't get with the sandpaper, but then down through here I just scuffed it with the Scotch-Brite, and then where all these welds are here from the patch pieces, that's going to get smeared with seam sealer as well. Cover up all those welds, make sure they're waterproof. But the plan is evolving, where I've got so many breakthroughs. I only got it down to 220 grit. I want this to be really smooth. So what I think I'm going to do is shoot this after I get it cleaned up with some more primer. We'll have to get some masking paper out and tape and get everything all done up. So we'll spray the epoxy on there and then worry about getting the seam sealed. That way all this exposed metal will have a nice coat of epoxy on it underneath of the seam sealer. So let's get it all cleaned up, taped up, and ready to shoot.
Nothing
Pretty good. So I got a little dimple right here. I think I'll spread some filler, but I wanted to show you guys this too. Just in case you were wondering what the build is on the PPG epoxy, well, there you go. I'm going to have to take care of that bin, probably sand it down so you can see it through the windshield, but it really filled up pretty good. But I think we're about ready to start hitting it with 400. And over on this side, I had one little friend come to visit me there, but I think that'll sand out. We might have to put a little bit of glaze like in that dimple and maybe where that gnat landed, but I'll bring you back once I get this sanded with 400. Nothing too exciting to show you there. Really going to focus on this spot up here to get that blocked out and smooth, and the rest of this down here is just a matter of probably just scuffing it with Scotch-Brite. I don't even know if I'll hit that with 400. We'll see how it goes. So 400, use Scotch-Brite to get in all the little nooks and crannies. So we're getting ready for seam sealer now. But I was going to say, I thought I was going to save myself some time by not putting filler in these little holes and imperfections. But having to scuff through that 2-3 times with Scotch-Brite and dig all those out, man, it might have been faster just to put a skim coat on there and block it down one time, and then every other scuff would just be nice and easy. So did I save myself some time? Probably not. Just a thought. If you guys are getting into this and want to smooth all that up, it might save you some time in the end. So I couldn't just leave my VIN the way it was. I want that to look nice for some reason. I don't know. It's just the character of the car, right? It is the car, the VIN. So what I did was I drilled it out, two little rivets right there. It dropped down. There's a little protector plate underneath of it that's riveted along with it. So then I used some aircraft paint remover, took off the coatings that was on there, and now I'll put a coat of clear on that and we'll rivet it back in probably right before we do the windshield. So that's going to look all good. But let's get this taped up and bust out the seam sealer. So this is what I'll be using, this barrier bond. You know, I think I got it off of Amazon. Pretty good price, that's why I bought it. And it's this custom shop distributed by TCP Global. I've seen both of those name brands floating around, but I've never used them. So we're going to see how this goes. Load it into the gun, shoot it out. Got all the tape off. Everything's looking really good. So I'm getting ready to tape off to get some paint on this thing. We're going to use UreChem Hot Rod Black. It's the satin gloss finish. But thinking about taping this off, I'm struggling with this cowl. You know, when I sprayed primer, there wasn't really a lot of junk that come out of there. But guaranteed, when I spray the final coat, there'll probably be all kinds of junk that lands in my paint. So I want to do a good job taping it off, and I really am wrestling with how to do this. So I think I'm just going to take all of this packing paper from the paint shipment that I got, and I'm going to stuff it down in there until it's fluffed up, and then we'll just take one last layer of paper and kind of smooth it underneath those openings to kind of block all that off. So I was scratching my head about that for a while, so I just thought I'd share with you how we're going to take care of that. You guys want some stickers? Check out the link in the description to the Teespring store. But I wanted to show you guys this too. Paper towel holder converted to a masking paper holder. Heck yeah. Alright, one last look here before we put this hot rod black on it. UreChem satin gloss. It's all taped up, masked up, ready to go. In the words of one of my favorite YouTubers, John Maliki, let us spray.